There's only two means of salvation around here that seem to work: whiskey or the Bible, a shot glass or revival. When you don't see no.
All right, welcome. It's Nash Coffee and Donuts. It's a recap of the Saturday football obligation. Obviously, we're going to try to splice in a little Sunday Mass for you, just in case you bad boys didn't go. Right now, we got some Navy highlights on. Watching Everett Golson. I like him.
Yeah.
I like him. And
Seems like a nice person.
he seems like a nice young man. They just threw out a Michael Jordan reference. He was recruited to play point guard at NC. I think he kind of looks like MJ. I said in a press conference, I'm going to notice a tagless Hanes tee, and it's gonna dawn on me and the rest of the world.
The similarities, the tie-ins, it could be.
He's got the eyes of a killer, man.
He does.
He looks like. And an interesting fact is Golson had 0 run attempts in this Navy game. I think he had -8 yards, which I believe was that sack.
Right.
Which he got rocked in the back, which Tommy Reeves would have snapped like a balsa wood plane and threw the ball into the hands of a so.
True. That's true. Well, leave it to a Notre Dame fan to take a one victory and start making allusions to Michael Jordan. But there's nothing wrong with
Yes,
that.
we're riding high.
Notre Dame is undefeated, and as we know in the past, that's not always something you get to celebrate for a long time. So, yeah, we're getting a nice look at this. Apparently, they don't have any pigment there in Ireland. That end zone was not painted very well. I definitely noticed that.
Oh, Theo Riddick just found it. He looked good.
Yeah, we had no problem finding it, so I suppose that was good.
And you wonder if maybe that's a Wally Pitt moment, I mean, does Sierra get back on the field?
Well, I got that coming up here for sure. So do you want to go? You want to go through this?
No, fire away.
All right, let's fire away. We're gonna go. We're gonna try to do some PTI style, since we're both very, very winded, like Stephon Tuitt running back an 80-yard scoop and score. We get a little winded, so we're just gonna run through these. Just quick thoughts. This is all rapid fire. Right off the bat, you got to go with number 5. How much stock do you put into Golson's performance? What you saw?
He looked the part. He looked the part. I mean, it was apparent at the end of last year that Reeves wasn't the guy. And for all the great things that he did, you could tell when Kelly was splicing Hendricks in there. And Stanford, he should have been playing him more in games like Maryland. We blew him out. But it was obvious that Reeves isn't the guy. And Hendricks is getting reps. You see the drop-off from Hendricks to Golson in this game.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And if Kelly came on in his weekly teleconference and says that Tommy Reeves has to come back to compete for number 2, hey, great.
Right, yeah.
At least we have a guy who, was pretty efficient. He threw a pick. You live and learn. It didn't cost you. We won a turnover battle. That probably plays into another question, just as far as how do you feel? Let me ask you this: how do you feel being on the other side of the turnover margin?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Notre Dame is tied. Hey, again, Michael Jordan. Let's jump here. Let's jump the shark on everything. We are tied for second in the nation in fumbles recovered.
Yeah, well, I tell you what, in that game, I could not help but and this was totally supported by how many shots of just
whiskey?
No, not at all. Forlorn-looking Navy players on the sideline, and it just made me, sympathize or empathize, whichever one means you actually had that experience, whichever one of those words you're supposed to use right there. That just felt like what has happened to Notre Dame in the past. Whether it's shooting themselves in the foot or just the bad luck of the Irish, watching the ball just squeak out of the hands, go through the hands, and on a side note, which we want to talk about a little bit later. Teo being there to just pick up everything like a dustbuster was awesome, but just watching him and thinking, I'm so glad that we're not doing that right now. And then I watched the Michigan game later. I'm so glad that's not us.
Stop. All right, that ties in here. We'll come back to Teo because I have a specific question about Teo.
Okay, I do too.
But when you said empathize, when you say sympathy, when you say empathetic, these are all great Catholic values.
Yeah,
you want to feel the other person's pain. Let me ask you this question, 2-part. What are you more excited about? Notre Dame's, the way that they won over Navy, or the way that Michigan just got absolutely disembodied by Alabama?
I think that in the end, there's a lot of similarities.
What brings you more joy?
What brings me more joy is Notre Dame opening up 50 to 10. It has to bring me more
then
joy.
I'm the sick one because I like.
That's
to see
fine. I'll be the resident. I live by the Beatitudes. If you still live by Hammurabi's code, eye for an eye, that's absolutely fine.
Hey, listen, it's an evolution. I'm still looking for God's grace here.
That's fine. It sounds like you're Old Testament at this point, and I'm going with New Testament. Like whatever you do to the least of my brothers, that type of thing. But don't get me wrong. Anybody can. If you're a Michigan fan,
you at least concede 1 point to me that all the years that Notre Dame got kicked in the nuts by USC repeatedly. 41 to 10, 35 to 7, whatever the scores are, there was a 5-year window where it happened often. Think of how those Michigan fans were looking at Notre Dame.
Yeah, absolutely. But here's the kicker in that game. Notre Dame had a lot of games against USC where they were obliterated. We had to sit through them. But the thing is,
that's how a Michigan fan felt.
No, here's the difference. Notre Dame never went up. The kickoff classic, Saturday night, first game of the year, playing USC against 138,000 fans, and they were never ranked number 8. If you recall, the most memorable USC game, obviously, in the past decade was 2005, and even then, Notre Dame was not ranked number 8.
Well, and I will say this, they're always at the end of the year. But let's be honest, I mean, preseason rankings, Michigan's not 8.
Yeah, this is just what Michigan went through is everybody else other than Michigan fans knew you're probably in for a really big reality check. All the SEC people are coming out of the woodwork as if they need to.
You know what I will say about Brady Hoke, though? Dude, he did a bang-up job of that RNC speech.
He did. Are you saying as governor of New Jersey you approve of his policies?
All right.
A side note on him, which we don't even need. I don't understand how he coaches without a headset. I don't know. It just bothers me.
He throws rocks.
It just bothers me. Like, how many people could you yell? It's a loud stadium. You're not even connected. Like, there's no phone. There's no headset.
He's old school, man.
He is old school, but it's
Yost didn't have a headset.
No. Well, I don't know if he ever played. I don't know if he ever played under 100-foot video screen. Hey, it's just a suggestion.
We haven't seen any McDonald's order boards yet this year.
No.
with Big Bird.
Very true.
Big Macs.
Very true. I miss Aaron Andrews on the big board. Okay, let's move on. There's more than enough Michigan hate in everyone's heart. We don't need to revel in it. There's nothing wrong with it. Pure Michigan. We have to put in pure Michigan.
I will.
For the highlight of the game. 41-14.
The feelings forever.
Pure Michigan.
I am Michigan. I am waves along an endless shore. I am Michigan, where Great Lakes stretch forevermore and rivers flow and rivers fall. Memories beckon one and all to Michigan. This is what I am. Yes, Michigan, the feelings forever. Yes, Michigan, the feelings forever. Beyond my
Okay, I'm gonna go with another one because I feel like we at least owe it to the Navy cadets here. We at least owe it to give them just a tiny bit of analysis. Do you feel like this was a well-oiled overall victory against a gritty opponent, which is really what we've seen in the past, or do you feel like Notre Dame was beating up on a cupcake in this game?
They were. And I will even go one step further to say
they were beating up on a cupcake.
Yeah,
well-oiled and gritty.
No,
okay.
they were beating up on a cupcake.
Gotcha.
And I take a little umbrage with Kelly scoring with 37 seconds left or whatever it was.
I don't at all.
See, that's interesting.
I'm back to the Old Testament.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing. If it's Michigan, I got some Michigan issues. If you can't tell, if it's Michigan, score, go for 2, and if there's 8 seconds left, kicking onside. I don't give. But for Navy, I think, hey, they're stand up. Hell, we used to sing their fight song to them at the Sarah Datum under Charlie Weiss or whatever. I think Navy's the one team that you don't.
I was exactly with you on that stance until the day that they beat us. You know what? Because they're not. When they beat Notre Dame, they did it more than once.
All right. Well,
and you know what? Notre Dame was down.
It was 56 to 14, whatever it was.
There's nothing wrong with compartmentalizing, and there's nothing wrong with saying I have more respect for them. I'd rather play them. But that belongs after the game, like what you said. That's color guard stuff. That's singing the fight song to the other team stuff. That's shaking hands in the parking lot. Not on the field. The college football is based on perception. You got to score points.
Well, let's go. You said respect, and let's jump on something with regard to respect real quick. I will admit, and it didn't dawn on me. It's you don't know what you got till it's gone. But Jimmy Clausen, for whatever reason, I never gave the true respect that this guy was a leader. That he showed some grit.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I remember he pushed the guy at the end of the BC game.
Yes.
I mean, he was mouthy when
played
they
hurt multiple times.
When they were down. He was rallying the troops, and he always got them through the thick and the thin. And I never appreciated that until he left. You know, and then you have that void. Same way, do you think Manti Te'o is underappreciated? I know he finally, for the first time in his career, pulled a high stat line with some sexy numbers like fumble recoveries and interceptions. I think it was first interception.
Right.
But do you feel like, because I know I'm a victim of this with Clausen, do I not respect Manti enough that when he's gone next year, I'm like, oh gosh.
Well,
the heart of our defense, the middle of our team, and the sideline guy, is not here.
Yeah. Well, what you just asked was a very difficult question to answer, and the reason is, and we've seen a lot of this from the press conference. A lot of this is common knowledge now. If you follow the things behind the scenes, Te'o has been encouraged to have a more vocal stance as a leader. Kelly's talked about that. He said, "Hey, I used to be the quiet guy in the corner, leading by example, doing the blue collar thing," and you know what? It showed on the field in that he was always a leader with tackles. Basically, it was almost the old cornerback thing where they're not announcing him because he's doing his job correctly. But this game, we saw a change. The guy not only has a fumble recovery, he also has a pick. And it just shows that nose for the ball. You can't shy away from the limelight. When the ball's there, you got to go get it. And that made me think back to Tommy Zbikowski, which is, the guy may not be the number one athlete on the field, but when that ball is up for grabs, he was just there. It was just like a T-bone steak that he would go after and get it. And I think that you're seeing a difference of that in Te'o. So a lot of expectations, but I'm hoping that I have no problem if he is more in the limelight as far as being valuable. And I think that's gonna cause you to you're gonna know exactly what he was, and you'll miss him when he's gone. Either way. But it'll be a little bit more direct. I think he's on everybody's radar this year, and that's a good thing. He needs to be.
Do you, I'm just watching some of these highlights here. Matthias Farley got some reps. Dude, do you see he's got a handlebar mustache?
Yeah,
maybe it's a beard that I can't see the rest of it underneath the chin strap.
Yeah, under the chin strap.
I would just want to rewind this for you. This dude looks like he should be, I don't know, like a cop in the 70s.
Yeah, I don't know. It definitely made me think back on like some of my football cards that I had from maybe. He looks older than Chris Weinke ever was, so. Dang. So that's crazy.
That wasn't nothing but the intro.
I will give props to the way Riddick had over 100 yards. Atkinson had 99, and phenomenal when Riddick dove into the end zone, stretching it out.
Yeah.
And even more impressive to me, and I definitely want to make sure I point this out, was when Atkinson got down there and set the ball 2 inches inside the goal line, straight run,
right.
Paying homage to the Emerald Isle, and I thought that was absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
And the pants were beautiful. Oh, the pants were great.
Yeah. Well, if nothing else, I think we could at least wrap that topic up and say, and to be honest, this is something that really has been resolved for a couple of years. There were some glaring spots in the past where running back was kind of a questionable position, and there seems to be more than enough talent and depth there. So that's something we can definitely be excited
Riddick's
about.
not impervious to injury, and the truth is, if Riddick gets injured, maybe Sierra Woods is the Citizen of the Year again. Who knows?
Yep.
Who knows? We'll see.
Let me do mine real quick right for there. What surprised me about this game is that I really feel like I alluded to before, I feel like the ball just kind of bounced Notre Dame's way. And I don't care if it was Navy. Like, the opening of the season, it's just nice to have something that's not a South Florida situation. It's not
there you go.
It's
there you
not
go. Ball on the ground, and Navy did recover it, but our buddy Handlebar, Matthias Farley.
Yeah, absolutely.
I need to see him without that, because he may have just a nice
he could just
full beard, and you can only see the front.
It.
So, but he looks like a gangsta.
Let's go real quick. T.J. Jones, 2 strong catches with yak yards. Is he a viable option to break out as the number 1 wide receiver?
I don't think that there'll be an ultimate number 1 besides Eifert. But, we may not need number 1 guy. Chuck Martin, as the offensive coordinator, is definitely changing the dynamic. Notre Dame had 293 rushing yards. I think we're 15th in the nation right now in rushing.
Right.
That was good, and that's without Sierra Wood. So, if we run more, if we don't rely on the pass, we don't have to. I don't care if there's number 1 receiver if we can average 300 yards a game rushing.
How much power or how much leeway do you give Golson against his first real test, which is likely going to be Michigan State, but I don't want to look past Purdue. Let's just say when things start not going as well as they were, are there any situations, again, you're Brian Kelly, are there any situations where you yank this guy, or are we done with the platooning at quarterback?
My opinion, it would be the worst thing you could possibly do to Golson's psyche.
Yeah.
I think.
I think the fan base would be.
You can't do it.
I think that's pitchfork and.
Well,
torch
even when
type
he was
stuff.
putting Hendricks in last year for Reese, everybody agreed keep Hendricks in. He's showing a spark, and then he comes back out. That just didn't work. But I think at this point, if Golson's the guy that you at least run with for 2012, you got to keep him in, because if he's down by 10 points to Michigan State, and he engineers a comeback, great. He has confidence, and down the road, when you're at USC, when you're at Oklahoma,
right.
when you're playing in Soldier Field against Miami, all these other big games, if he doesn't have that, and it doesn't give him credibility with the team to say, hey guys, we can do this.
Nope.
We did this against those little bitch Sparties. We can do it against the Sooners. So, I think you got to. I think, Kelly, you got your chips riding on him. They look good. As long as he doesn't just implode where he's turning the ball over, or it's, if it's just, hey, we're down, he hasn't done it yet. He's got to do it sometime if he's the guy.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think the hard and fast rules for Kelly this year should be there are no more than 2 quarterbacks that ever see the field, period, this year. And those quarterbacks are Golson and Hendricks. And frankly, you don't pull Golson unless they're up by 40, which is a great thing to do. Okay, does Purdue's 48 points in the opening weekend scare you at all?
Nothing about Purdue scares me.
Yeah, I agree.
Except for the fact that they're going to have more guys with mustaches than we have with Matthias Farley.
Yeah,
allegedly.
I do respect them for that.
Other than that, I'm afraid that they know how to make chemical weapons, or they can mix nitrate and ammonia. And
they're in charge of the nation's corn supply. That's kind of frightening if you think about it.
But other than that, I don't figure them on the field at all. It's going to be interesting because we got a lot of secondary issues, and they're going to like to throw it around. But I can see Robert Marv being carried off the field with half his leg missing.
Yeah,
and I can see old Caleb Turbush, who jumping off the quad runner and getting called back into action with with absolution of sin, because they can't stop our defensive line.
Right.
So
and I think that's going to be the bottom line with. Any of you are out there a little bit concerned about the secondary, we didn't touch on it too much here, but if you think about it really, in order for somebody to truly exploit that, they're going to have to be more than comfortable with what is a very, very dramatically improved Notre Dame pass rush. So if you have a mobile quarterback that can pick you apart in the secondary, and let's be honest, there's not that many guys in the country that can do that, those are the guys that you should be afraid of. The guys that are truly mobile, or teams like you mentioned earlier that have a huge up-front corn-fed line. So when we're playing against somebody like in Oklahoma, then things are going to get different. But if it's Purdue, the fact that we have some secondary concerns is not enough for them to win the game. It's going to force their hand into strategy.
That's a great chance for Michael Jordan to engineer a 14,
to take over the game.
14-point rally.
Absolutely.
Finish it off. Last thing I want to throw out there, I want to put something in for all the people that miss Mass on Sunday. Shame on you. With a did you know if you miss Mass, you should go to confession before receiving the Eucharist the next time you go back to Mass.
Don't want to go to confession. You are forced to watch the Michigan performance against Alabama again. That will also count this year only. If you watch that game again, while wearing some sort of Michigan garb, then all sins would be absolved.
Last thing here, I'm gonna put on YouTube. I'm gonna run through this game. I gotta get some Faraday highlights out there.
Absolutely.
I thoroughly, and as a newbie golfer, but I thoroughly enjoyed Faraday. I thought he was great. If I was NBC, I would just pick him up. And
the banter between him and Scooter alone. Nobody's done the 2-person sideline thing, as far as I know.
Oh man, it's great because he doesn't even know what he's saying, and neither does him.
He's good.
It's phenomenal.
He's good. I wonder if people out there understood him. The fact that he does have this. It's all about having a sense of humor. It's very European. It's very casual. If anybody was like, who the heck is this guy and what is he talking about? Why is he explaining basic rules of football? He's extremely funny, so look him up for sure.
Well, and if you're from Michigan, you probably thought he was from another planet.
Yeah,
so.
well, if you were in Michigan, you were sitting there at this point thinking, wow, a couple more hours before we shock the world. Hey, I think we're gonna move up to rank 6. Yeah, I have no problem. Like, can we set up a Twitter feed that just says Michigan like Michigan tweets right before kickoff, and just see the level of, and trust Trust me,
It goes both ways.
It goes both ways.
Listen.
Notre Dame may or may not be known for some high expectations that didn't exactly come to fruition. But I would like to set up a Twitter that just says Michigan before Bama, and it's just totally high expectation, just blinding optimism.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Denard for Heisman?
Yeah.
Question mark? You know what I mean? Like, yeah, absolutely. So we don't even need to. Sorry. Okay, so somebody get on that because that's at least a week's worth of entertainment. Yeah. So there's a small part of me that respects setting up that big first game.
If there's any timeline
But,
hawks
man.
out there, I know Subway Dumber could put somebody
Oh,
on that.
jeez, that would be good. There's some good stuff there. We could probably be high for this one too. Absolutely.